Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Babbling Irons breakdown video. The rumour mill has turned into a bit more than a rumour mill. Kalvin Phillips of Manchester City is now being heavily linked with a move to West Ham on a loan deal, no option to buy, straight loan, paying I think almost £10 million potentially in his wages and the loan fee. It's a man that hasn't played a lot of football, Sloth, in the past couple of years since moving to City. It's clearly not worked out for him under Pep. He's had injury issues, which happened at Leeds as well. It's continued at City. He just hasn't been able to get into that side with Rodri and other players playing in that midfield position. First thoughts on Kalvin Phillips when that name kind of came up, and now it's close to signing him for West Ham in the January transfer window.
The initial one from City was that I just think it's a real sort of high money gamble, because you're probably going to be paying a decent transfer fee. You're probably going to be paying, a large amount of wages, and some might say it's pointless to give him football time in the West Ham squad if there's no option to buy. But I just disagree, because he's so injury prone. He's played so little football, and as I said, the financial side of it is so big that for me, I just think this makes sense, because we can go out in the summer and we won't have obligated ourselves to buy a player for, let's say, 25-30 million pounds that City might want, and the wages on top of that.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree. I think £10 million for a loan deal is a crazy amount of money. To be honest, if you look at that 10 million that could be used, say, for a permanent transfer or someone in the summer, it's quite a lot of a budget. And especially for a player that hasn't played a lot of football, it's a risk, but the quality is there.
I think what you've got to take into consideration is, if this even means, say, one or two places difference in the league, then you pretty much covered it. I know it's not exactly that, but you've pretty much covered it. If we go further in Europe because of the signing, then you've pretty much covered it. It's for me, it's not enough money, but in terms of making a difference to how I view the signing, because let's face it, unless you're taking a gamble on a player from, say, France, even Ligue 1, like and Ligue 2 below it, it's you're not going to get a player who is as heavily regarded and highly regarded as Kalvin Phillips for £10 million. It's just not going to happen. So I think I think that's where it kind of outweighs it.
It's tough, because there's clearly a quality player there. It was only a few seasons ago, him and the Declan Rice comparison was out. Phillips was a pretty integral part of the England Euros run when we got to the final and lost to Italy. Him and Rice were excellent in that tournament. And, we're kind of missing that at the moment with Alvarez out injured. We've seen Ward-Prowse and Souček in the double pivot. Just doesn't work at all. And Alvarez has picked up a few injuries himself. He hasn't really been able to play the full 90 minutes in a lot of games. But when you look at Phillips's record, I mean, we can take a look at here of the game time he's had since moving to Man City. It is quite extraordinary how little he has played. 12 appearances last season, where, only 290 minutes in that time. So he hasn't played a lot of football there. He hasn't really played in any cup competitions. And this season, again, it's a similar story. 4 games in the Premier League with less than 90 minutes played. Kind of paints the picture for Kalvin Phillips's journey at Manchester City so far. So if he is to come into this team, is it the case of, okay, he's going to be brought in for squad depth, or do you see him being a starter in that midfield?
I think we know that Moyes is a massive fan of him, so I think he's a starter.
Who does he come out for in that situation? Would it be Souček?
I think, look, let's face it, every West Ham fan, or the majority of West Ham, is probably hoping it's going to be Souček who's dropped. I don't want to really try and seem like I'm being different, but I do think that a lot of West Ham fans will only notice what a difference he makes when he's gone from the side, particularly when you've got the likes of Phillips and James Ward-Prowse who are delivering for him. And he's not there to get on the end of crosses. I just think he's so much stronger in the air than anyone else we've got. But look, it's in
Does
terms
it
of
solve our
footballing
problem? Does
ability.
it solve our midfield problem though? Because if we bring in Phillips, for example, and he comes in and plays alongside Alvarez, we have obviously much more defensive security. We have much more, security and assurity on the ball as well, with Phillips dropping in between those lines and picking out passes. But then your Ward-Prowse is likely to be the third option with Paqueta coming back on the left wing when he's back. So is there still that lack of a driver of the ball? I mean, we saw Ben Johnson do it the other day against Sheffield United, someone driving with the ball, and we kind of lack that ball carrier at the moment. We've got Souček, who doesn't like to come and get the ball. He'll kind of drift in and out of games and try and pop up with a goal late in the box. Ward-Prowse is kind of similar, where he won't really come and drive with the ball. He'll pick it up and keep it tidy, and try and impact in the final third where he can. And Alvarez just isn't someone that's going to bring the ball forwards. He'll keep the ball nice and tidy again between the back line, and the middle third of the pitch and try and pick off the passes. But we don't really have that driving force. So does Phillips even kind of solve that midfield issue for you? Or is it, again, just numbers going into a busy schedule in the second half of the season?
No, I think one of the things that he does allow is the fullbacks a lot more freedom. If you look at someone like Emerson, who is really happy carrying the ball,
Yeah.
say, for example, you were to put Johnson right back, he's a lot more athletic than Soufal. Obviously, we're missing Soufal for a game now. And we've been linked with another fullback from AZ Alkmaar who would offer a lot more attacking options down that right-hand side. So I think that'll be the plan, to free up those fullbacks, get them involved in the attack a lot more. And you've got a lot more defensive rigidity and options there with Phillips, Alvarez, and whoever the two centre-backs are. You've got that cover. My main worry is just his injuries, to be honest. Is he going to be able to just constantly play football? And sounds a bit daft, because Manchester City's medical team are brilliant. They're very, very good. And you look at what they've done with De Bruyne. He's had a series of hamstring issues for years now, and they just constantly seem to get him back. And doesn't seem to be any issue with match fitness there. He seems to be back in the squad for quite a long time, and then if he picks up another injury, they deal with it. So I think it will be one where he probably comes in and starts. For me, as I said, I think that what we need to do is either talk to Man City, and if we want to sign him, we get a deal in place where we can do so. And if not, if the finances of the deal turn out to be too much, if he gets injured or something like that, then we just say, walk away. We have now got a good budget. We're in a good place for the summer, and go forward from there and look to sign someone else.
I think it offers us something different. And I think what it will do is allow us to have that defensive solidity in midfield, which we're currently lacking without Alvarez. So if Alvarez is missing, we don't have the burden of having to play a double pivot of Souček and Ward-Prowse. We have another DM there ready to go as well, if he's fit, of course. And also, if Moyes wants to play Alvarez and Phillips together, that allows Ward-Prowse to play slightly further forwards in the number 10 role, where we know he's a lot better for us. And, we've scored a lot more goals, conceded a lot less goals when he's played there. And his impact, off the ball and on the ball is just so much better, because he'll give us that work rate from the front, where you've got Kudus, Paqueta and Bowen as well, who are going to work very hard off the ball. And again, it comes down to that, how Moyes wants to play. And he kind of gives the freedom to that front three with Ward-Prowse in behind to create things and make things happen. And like you mentioned, it allows Emerson to go forwards a bit more with Alvarez and Phillips sitting in there, because you've got that defensive blanket in midfield who can cover in as well. And, someone like Ben Johnson has shown he's a lot more progressive than, say, Coufal has been this season as well. So it gives you the option on the right-hand side. So there's definitely options there for Moyes. And there's no doubt Kalvin Phillips is a very good player. Otherwise, Pep wouldn't have signed him for the money that he did, and it wouldn't have been a player that he tried to target. It hasn't worked out for him at City for reasons, for injuries, for lack of, I don't know what attitude problem or anything that Pep hasn't liked there. But we know Phillips is a quality player, and we know Moyes can get, the best out of these types of signings in these sort of scenarios. So I think for me, it will be a great signing. The loan deal of around £10 million for me is quite steep. But again, it's not my money, and we're bringing in a quality player for the last half of the season, where we might not have European football again for a long time. So there's also that to factor in. And if we do want to kind of push in the Premier League as well, because we're in a really good position still, despite, drawing against Sheffield United recently. So Yeah, I think with Phillips, it's a gamble because of his injuries and his fitness, but it's a gamble that could absolutely pay off, and it really could, like you mentioned, be the difference come the end of the season for those kind of 1 or 2 positions in the Premier League that could get us European football again for next season.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums up my feelings. You know, it does give us another string to the bow. We saw him under Bielsa as well. He played centre back at times, so we know he is quite versatile. And look, on top of James Ward-Prowse, if James Ward-Prowse were to pick up a knock or something, we have got another set piece specialist in Phillips, so it covers that basis as well. I think it's a smart signing. As I said, I'm kind of happy there's no option to buy in there, just because I think it would be a real extortionate fee, and the finances of the deal don't really make. I think they would be enormous, and that
I
doesn't.
wonder if it's something that could happen potentially happen in the summer with Lucas Paqueta again. If Man City try and, revive that interest, that maybe it's something part of the deal. But again, that's kind of long-term
Look,
thinking.
I don't mean this with any disrespect to Phillips. If we're not replacing Paqueta, but if we're even trying to get Phillips involved in that deal, I don't want it, because I'd much rather they give us a fee and we can put that towards players that are going to push us forward. It's no disrespect to Phillips. I think he's a great footballer, but it's an injury-prone one on high wages, and I would much rather we have a budget in the summer and we go out and find other players. We can put that money towards getting numerous players, and some of them could be homegrown. We can get someone like Doughty from Luton when they go down, or if they go down, sorry. We can look at bringing in other players, and I just think that the sort of money it would take to get him, I don't want that against Lucas Paqueta's fee. If Paqueta does go, we need to get as much money as possible for him, and I don't think Phillips is worth cancelling that out for.
Yeah,
I'd love to be proven wrong, though. I would absolutely love him to come in, tear it to pieces, and we go, this is a player we have to get. And next season, he again just does the same thing.
Look, he's what, 28 years old. He's still got, his prime years ahead of him, if you want to look at it like that. So yeah, I think it should be a deal that excludes Lucas Paqueta, just because of the difference in cash value, like you mentioned, a difference that money could bring into the squad, similar to what Declan Rice did. So yeah, let us know your thoughts and comments down below on the Kalvin Phillips situation. It looks like he's close to signing. We could wake up tomorrow and it's completely dead, and it'll make this video completely redundant, but we hope not. Hopefully we do get it over the line, because it would be a good loan signing to boost the squad going into a really important second half of the season. So yeah, make sure to leave a comment down below. Leave a like on the video as well if you enjoyed, and make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you are new around here. And Sloth, until next time.
Come on, you irons.